Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we talk about all those things that affect the customer experience at your store, whether it's the front of the house, the back of the house, the office, or anything in between. We bring on the experts every week to share with us either what they've done or what they're doing now to help you overcome some of the challenges that you encounter at your stores. And about once a month, my show is dedicated to TechForce.org because we have a big issue in our industry where there's not enough techs coming out of trade school. The conversations aren't being had as early as they should be regarding people going into technical careers. We've got an aging population of mechanics where many of them are 40s and 50s. And some of them are getting out of the business and there's nobody to replace them. And while we complain about it all the time, very few people come up with actual actionable things that you can do to improve your situation. So this week, we are honored with Wayne Bridges. Wayne brings 48 years of automotive experience to the table here. And he's going to share with us some interesting things. We're going to talk about, why set up an in-house program. Why or how do you design an effective recruitment strategy? And how do you implement the comprehensive training program in-house and make sure that everything gets taken care of? And overcoming some of the challenges and ensuring success in those programs. Sure, you could spend thousands of dollars on some of these job posting sites and still not get anybody, or you can take matters into your own hands and start your own program. So Wayne, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, Paul. I'm excited to chat about my favorite industry and especially, to bring in TechForce Foundation. What a great group that is doing really important work to help us take care of this technician shortage.
Now, it's funny. You and I, we have we've had some similar past. His early on days in motorcycles was a Yamaha, and my first bike was a Yamaha. And then you progressed on to Kawasaki's, and I progressed on to Kawasaki's, and we just recently met. So it's funny how paths follow similar directions sometimes.
It is, and that's the thing with our industry, especially, we're talking about the longer you're in it, the more similarities you find. And I don't know about you, but I'm planning on leaving the industry with my boots on. So we'll see how that goes. So.
Yeah, no, I love it so much. I couldn't imagine doing something different. It's just every day is different, but the same. Doing some training and just the traveling and meeting people. It's funny. Everybody says, oh, our store's different. Our customers are different. The only thing's different is how people speak and how they dress. The scenarios are pretty much the same. Right. I've got a couple of comments here I want to get to. Oh boy, Ed Chipolowski, first one in. Have fun, Wayne. Great to see you, Ed. Larry Feldman, good evening, gentlemen. And Brian Kate says hello. LinkedIn user. I wonder who that is this time. Sometimes somebody comes through as LinkedIn user during the show, and right after the show, it reveals who they are. So I'm not quite sure what that is. It might be a LinkedIn glitch for all I know. And my good friend and brother from another mother, John Frazier. Hey guys, let's have a great show. Ramon Rodriguez Gonzalez says hello, welcome. And my good buddy, Mike Vogel, the coach. Good evening, Paul and Wayne. Says grow your own and build bullpen for your future success. No secret there, but often overlooked. Ramon says, good evening, everybody. And Russell B. Hill, one of my SDL brothers. Well, hello, Paul and Wayne. Good evening. All right, so before we get started, just a quick message. Why TechForce, right? It's a platform that can help dealers navigate some of these murky waters of not being able to get tech. So take a look. We'll be right back. Mike, why TechForce if I'm a dealer?
Somebody's got to focus on solving this tech shortage. It's everybody's number one pain point, and TechForce is the only national not-for-profit focused on helping people to and through careers as technicians. What that means for dealers is we're working with thousands of students and working techs around the country. We've got over 100,000 in our database, and there's over 12,000 of them who are part of our online social community. So fish where the fishes are, but it requires supporting this mission. It's not a quick fix. We have to do things from junior high through high school to post-secondary education to get them interested in and supported through this journey and into those jobs, internships, placements, relationships with the schools that, you're busy running a shop and you don't have time to figure out who's the point of contact at my local tech school or high school. We have them all available in our TechForce social community.
So visit them on the web, techforce.org. It's a great organization. There's some training. There's lots of great stuff that happens there. You're looking for the dog? He's not here.
Okay, thanks.
All right. My wife looking for one of the dogs. All right. So setting up an in-house program, I doubt a lot of stores have done that, but you've had some success with that. Why don't you walk us through what that looks like?
Okay. Well, I don't think I've seen exactly what we have at Toyota Puyallup anywhere else. I think it was very visionary of the owners, Kerry Odeman and Peter Chung in particular, thought about this, because typically the way it works is you hire a tech in and you send them off to some of those training schools that the manufacturer has occasionally. But most of them are really geared up for people that already have some experience. What we're doing at Toyota Puyallup, when they brought me on board, we're taking those people that have come into our shop, whether they've come from a trade school or just off the street, but mainly our Toyota Express maintenance technicians. And we're putting them through actual classes. I give lecture classes 3 or 4 times a week to those technicians. We just do an hour at a time, just a short entry-level type theory stuff that you would normally get at a trade school. And then we do some hands-on stuff, and then I help mentor them in the shop. They're also assigned, especially once they move off of the TXM line into the shop, then they're sandwiched between 2 master technicians to be mentored by them as well. But the difference is the fact that we're actually taking these young people that may or may not have had any automotive training and giving them that training in-house. And that's a pretty novel idea. And when I was presented with this idea a year ago by Peter Chung, it really excited me because this is exactly the kind of stuff that industry needs to do. Because so many of these young people, they don't have the time or the resources to go to a school.
Right.
And so we hire that person off of the street, and we don't have any vehicle to train them in those basics. So we send them off to a Toyota school, or we send them off to a Napa training program. Those are all designed for people that already have some theory and some basic knowledge. And so it's not the most efficient way to train these young people up.
Now, so you get some of the younger people that come into the shop, like out of high school, or still in high school and apprentice programs?
Yeah, so we have some kids that have come straight out of high school. We have some that come from the local community and technical colleges. As a matter of fact, we just brought a young man on. He's working part-time right now. He's from one of the technical colleges. He's 40 years old. He has 6 children, and he's still in school. But I was at a Skills USA event at the college, and he was one of the volunteers from the college helping out with his high school Skills USA. And I just watched him, and I was really impressed with him. And we brought him in for an interview and knew that he was going to be a perfect fit. So we put him on part-time until he graduates. And then once he graduates, he'll be, continuing his education in classes that I'll be giving him. And then he'll be getting his Toyota training, online, and eventually he'll do some face-to-face at the Toyota training centers.
So you have a full-on curriculum, starting with, like the express lane, and then getting into a little bit more of mechanical repairs. So you have a curriculum with an hour set aside every week for specific teaching. Now, if you have techs of different skill levels, are those different classes at different times, or how do you work something like that?
Yes. The more experienced technicians, I take them into a little higher level. Some of the training I do is for the main shop technicians that are prepping for their ASE exams and things like that, A1 through A8 and L1. So definitely a higher level training for them. But it's different levels for different, techs. So yeah, the first class that I give them is basically how to be efficient on that, quick lane.
Yeah.
And then we take them through engine basics and brakes basics and suspension basics and, the theory and all of that goes with that. Because we want to make sure that these technicians not only can turn a wrench and change a part, but they need to understand the theory so that they can diagnose properly. And as we all know, diagnosis is the most important part of auto repair.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And our goal is that we take these entry-level people that are on our, TXM line, the quick lane line. Our goal is that every one of them is eventually going to transition into the shop. So we're prepping them to replace those older techs that are kind of long in the tooth that are going to be transitioning out. We just had one of our longtime members. He worked at Toyota Puyallup for 42 years as a technician. He just retired last month.
Wow.
Hard to replace that kind of knowledge. So
Awesome.
it's impossible. Exactly. We can't find anyone. So we have decided at Toyota Puyallup is we're going to develop them in-house. Of course, we'd love to have, a Toyota technician or even any master technician with 5 or 10, 15 years experience come in, but they're not out there. Most of them are in a place, they're happy. And because there's such a shortage of experienced technicians, it's pretty hard to pry them loose because the shops all know they've got to pay them and treat them really well to keep them.
Yeah, what a novel concept, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think about when I first went to work at a Chevrolet dealership in 1977, I was making $3.50 an hour. So,
Wow.
yeah.
How far times have changed, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I think this evening we have our first guest from Cuba.
Hmm.
That's cool. Our online enterprises reaches a global audience between our different businesses, and we have customers in New Zealand, Australia, the Netherlands, the UK, Germany, Chile, Ireland, Scotland, all over the world. But I must say, this is the first time we have somebody from Cuba. So welcome, Ramon. Not quite sure how you heard about the show, but I'm glad that you are here. Mike Vogel says, for success, technician inclusion on ideas, suggestions to help your store improve is so important. They cannot be ignored. If people feel valued and heard, they will partake and they will participate and they will contribute great ideas. It's when those ideas are stifled or just poo-pooed over, that's when people typically disengage. Now, do people know that your store has this type of program, or how do you reach the outside? Like, how do you reach new people to come in to take advantage of your training and your program?
So I'm very active on numerous advisory committees around the state of Washington. I'm actually on the advisory committee of, I think it's 10 different programs, either high school or college level automotive programs.
Wow.
It is critical to be where the talent is at. Getting your face out there. One of the most important things you can do as a shop is have a presence on that advisory committee. I spent 29 years teaching at Clover Park Technical College here in the Lakewood, Washington area. And I can tell you as an instructor, I sent my best students to the people that were on my advisory committee, that were investing in the program we were running there. And so they got the cream of the crop. So it's really, really important to be part of that. If you have an opportunity, I go to all kinds of trade shows and career fairs and things like that. And I bring a display, an interactive display where these young people can get their hands on, things and play with tools and play with different pieces of the car and things like that to get them excited. And I don't stop at, high schools and things like that. I do elementary school stuff, middle school stuff. We can't get them involved too early.
Exactly.
A really cool thing that I'm involved with the LeMay America's Car Museum here in Tacoma. Actually, next month, we're going to be doing it again. We have a thing that's for middle school age kids from 6th grade to 9th grade. And we take them through how a small gas engine works, and they get to take apart a small gas engine and put it back together. And it's so much fun to see these kids, getting excited and getting kind of a spark of, there's a lot of cool opportunities out there. So
Wow.
it's really important to do that kind of stuff. And when you do that, then they start, coming in.
That's amazing. I hope the dealers that are watching now and the dealers that watch on the replay make note of that, because your involvement in those programs is critical in your being able to connect with and network with some of these people. And that's the great thing about TechForce, because there's such a huge pool of talent within that organization that you can get to know. And if you're a shop, there's some training, there's videos, they make it fun, they make it interactive. Wow. I mean, yeah. You know what? I'm in a lot of stores and I don't hear too many people. What I hear is, oh, you know where I can get some techs? Everybody asks me that, but very few people do what you do. So I tip my hat to you, man. That's wonderful.
Well, that's really the key, is getting out there, getting the word out, getting your face out there. And it takes a lot of work. And this is another place where Toyota Puyallup is really thought ahead. And, to bring me on in the position I am, I do not generate any tangible, you can look on a spreadsheet and see what kind of income I bring in. Okay. It just looks like a deficit. But my job is to attract talent and train that talent. And we have to think about that investment the same as a piece of equipment. We have to invest in those young people, getting them interested and then keeping them trained up so that we can retain them in the industry. So that's really, really critical. I wanted to address a quick comment that Ed just put about do I believe that technology is going to help encourage young people coming in? Definitely. That's one of the things I always try to weave into any of my presentations is, I talk about that, we diagnose vehicles with laptops and even our smartphones, and just the technology. I always try to stress that the technology on today's automobile is superior to the technology we used to put the first man on the moon. And that's what we're driving down the road. And today's technician is not a mechanic. They are technicians with incredible skills. When I got in the industry back in the 70s, you didn't have to be real smart. If you could turn a wrench and you didn't smash your fingers too many times, you could be a good tech. Computers were just coming out and they weren't very smart. You couldn't communicate with them. And
Right.
look at where we're at now. We've got all this guidance avoidance stuff, the ADOS stuff that we have to play with and keep calibrated and stuff. It's an exciting time to be in the industry.
No, for sure. I mean, the techs today, they're electromechanical engineers. I mean, they're really genius level stuff.
Yeah.
When you think about the technology that goes into some of these cars and the hands-on stuff, young kids like to play with video games. And a lot of this computer stuff is very much like playing with video games. Right. And the hands-on stuff. Now, when you say small gas engine, you're talking like a Briggs & Stratton two-stroke lawnmower engine, that type of thing?
The ones that we use are actually a 4-stroke with an overhead cam setup in them.
Oh, wow.
Or I'm sorry, overhead valve, not overhead cam, overhead valve setup. So they understand how the valves work, and they get to take those out and put them back in, and take the piston out and all of that kind of stuff. And we give them some training about all of those pieces before we actually take it apart and put it back together.
Wow.
So,
I mean, you teach them everything, like plastic gauging the rod bearings and the crank.
Right.
bearing.
Yeah. We talk about all that stuff, and we've brought it down to 6th grade through 9th grade level, but they get a really good concept, and it's such a pleasure to watch these kids, boys and girls. Some of them have never touched a tool before, and just the excitement on their faces and their enthusiasm and energy that they put into it it's so cool. It's one of my favorite things to do every year.
At that age, when you go into grammar school, I mean, we're talking about impressionable pupils here that are ready to soak up this information. And these conversations that you have, these are lifelong careers that are very satisfying. I mean, you bring back this, taking the small engines apart and all that, you bring back so many, I got goosebumps. I remember back in the day, crisscrossing the cylinders with my drill and the tool, right? Yep. Building engines. I mean, that was so much fun. So for kids today to have exposure to that, I mean, that's huge. Right. Let me make sure I've got to the comments here. Let's see here. Mike Vogel, long-term technician retention can help with both mentorship and recruitment because they love where they work. Spot on, man. Mike and I, we really are brothers. We may not share the same DNA, but we really are brothers because he and I think exactly the same. But yeah, you got to think big picture, and that's where we fall short a lot of times. We don't think big picture. Ed Chipolowski says, George Ahrens of ASE Foundation always says to reach out to middle school students. I mean, they say in life, it boils down to luck and timing, right? Well, if you have the right timing to have the conversation with those kids, that would really be like, wow, that is an amazing, amazing job. Then your luck will follow. So luck and timing can play out in many different ways.
Yeah.
Mike Vogel says, great comment, Wayne. You have to make an investment in your people. And, I have to respectfully disagree with you. You are not a line item on the expense sheet. You're not. Because when you take a look at how you contribute to the success of the technicians, enabling them to just flourish in the shop, that store reaps hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars worth of benefit from what you instill in those young minds. So never sell yourself short, man. You contribute a lot. I
don't tend to do that, but thank you for those comments. So
it's true. Robert Allen Carvel, the dealer must go to local schools and support their automotive programs. Locally here in my town, there's a place called Furman's Garage. Wes Furman is owns the garage, and he's gone into the high school, and he started a program with the high school. And I shared a post not all that long ago where some of the kids they're doing brake jobs, and they're changing shocks and doing other car repairs because he's helping them. When a lot of the schools don't have a program or they don't have the funds for it, I think it was a $1.5 million or more in scholarship funds that TechForce was able to provide to schools and students to help them with getting training or getting to and from the schools and some of the other programs that they offer. So I really do encourage every person that's on here to get onto techforce.org. You can start a free account. Now, it is a nonprofit, so as with any nonprofit, its ultimate success depends on people like you and me who contribute to making that organization the best that it can be, because it helps so many people. It's in automotive, it's in aviation, it's in fleet. So join it and see if there's a way that you can work with TechForce, because you're helping not only yourself, but you're helping our industry, right? The experience that somebody has at a store in California, if it's a good one, ideally you'd want to have that same experience everywhere. Conversely, if they have a bad experience in a store in Connecticut, let's say, then they're going to think that everybody's bad, right? So what you do is vital, and some of the steps that you've taken to reach out to the automotive community, I mean, that's something any dealer can do. Kenneth Dunner says, my Toyota technicians know me for years. They better do a superb job. I think Kenneth has like 300,000 miles or something like that on his Toyota, and he's planning on getting many more miles out of it, and there's no reason why he shouldn't. So designing an effective recruitment strategy, that's really from your involvement in those 10 different programs. Right.
And, that is the biggest piece right there. You have to have your face, where people can see you, and have that opportunity to get your message out. And that takes time, that takes commitment. But if you want to attract quality people in, you need to be able to access them. And it's not just accessing that young person, but it's also having access to their parents. So any opportunity for a back to school night kind of thing where the parents are going to be there, or the grandparents, so that we can get the word out to them that their child does not have to go get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree to make $100,000+ a year.
Right.
They can go to school for a couple years, or like at Toyota Puyallup, they might not have to go to school at all. They can come right in, and we're going to train them right in the store, and they will have zero debt. One of the things that we have at Toyota Puyallup is a tool incentive program, where that young person comes in, and we have $8,000 worth of Snap-on tools that is going to cost them $2,500, and we take a little bit out of their check each month, if they want to, take advantage of that. And those are all things we have to attract the talent in here that we need. Because remember, everyone's fighting for the same young people coming out of those schools, the plumbers, the carpenters, the aviation people, all of them want those same people. And we have to be able to compete with them.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of competition for sure. I have to text my wife.
Like Paul is buffering, so I'm not sure.
No, there's a lot of competition.
I'm working,
and you know what? There are people that have gotten out of the business too, so it's that much more critical to be able to to bring people in. Now, so you have classroom instruction, you have hands-on experience, and then you say you mentor them all, or are there several people that are part of a mentorship program within the store?
So for the quick lane, the TXM techs, I'm their primary mentor. That I work with them. When I'm not in the classroom, I'm out there in the shop with them. The TXM techs that have transitioned into the main shop and are starting to do mechanical work and things like that, we have sandwiched them between a couple of experienced techs, and so I dip in with them, but they get a lot of their mentorship from those Toyota techs that have experience, and that's been really beneficial.
Well, I mean, you've got decades of experience and knowledge there for them to learn. Now, in your hands-on training, so beyond the classroom training, do you go through, like, do you start them off with maintenance first, replacing plugs, filters, things like that, or you get into hardcore repairs right away? Do you have? Are you hearing my audio? Wayne, do you have audio?
Yeah, you've come back on now. So
okay, sorry. What I said was, so on the mechanical part of the instructions, beyond the hour of classroom, do you teach them like basic maintenance, replacing spark plugs, filters, things like that, or do you get into hardcore repair right away as the repairs come into the shop?
So we start out with more basic, easy to do things, that an entry level tech is going to do, belts and hoses and the different types of services, flushes and things like that, basic brake jobs, alignments, those kind of things, and then then we start moving into heavier stuff. Once they're fairly proficient at that stuff, then we'll go into deeper stuff, going inside of changing bearings in a differential, or rebuilding a transmission and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Marshall asked a very good question, and it's one that a lot of people struggle with. The experienced techs that are the mentors for these newbies, so to speak, are they compensated in any way? What does that look like?
So at our shop, there's no additional compensation for them. But one thing that I've really appreciated about Toyota Puyallup is it's very much a family kind of a feeling there. We have each other's backs, and these technicians know that we have to help those young people become proficient and replace us someday. So in this situation, there's been no concern about that, and we are, the main shop technicians are flat rate, but they don't seem to have any issue with that tech looking over their shoulder and themselves helping those young techs when they're stuck on something. So it's been a really amazing and encouraging environment there, and it's because of the kind of history that the owners of Toyota Puyallup, Carrie Odeman and her father before that, kind of have set, and that's why we have technicians that have been there. Right now, we just had a technician left that been there for 42 years. So the next tech has been there 38 years. We got another tech that's been there 34 years. Kind of the average is about, I would say it's probably about 17 years. People come and they stay.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's because they really take care of their people, and they invest in their people. That's the big thing. They really invest in their people.
It's interesting because look, mechanics is not always the easiest job in the world.
Mhm.
It's physically demanding. It's intellectually draining. And there's something to be said for working along people that you've known and worked with for decades,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Decades. I mean, talk about giving selflessly of yourself where everybody pitches in. It almost seems impossible, Wayne.
Yeah. Well, we have a technician. He's been working at Toyota Puyallup for 32 years. It's the only job he has ever had. He has never worked anywhere else, done anything different. So, and it's because we invest in the employees, and that's one of the crucial things, for retention is investing in your employees. And I'm not talking about paying them big fat paychecks either.
There's more
Most
to it than
people, most people aren't going to leave just because they can get another dollar or two down the street. They're leaving because something else is not feeling right,
that.
and
Right.
so they're going somewhere else. So it's really important to invest in your technicians. You invest in a piece of equipment, invest in your technicians too. So, and not just your technician, your staff. Okay.
Right.
Um,
Everybody.
yeah, exactly. Just one thing that I hadn't touched on yet, but I also train our service advisors. I give them classes on basic mechanical type systems so that when they're talking to a customer, they can talk intelligently to them. I teach them why all these different maintenances are so important to the owner of the vehicle, so that they're better able to sell that stuff. I teach them classes on great customer service, so that we can retain those customers, and those service advisors are going to be knowledgeable and help keep the shop busy.
At the end of the day, the customer wants to be guided through the process by an empathetic automotive professional that understands them, has respect for their time, and is able to have an intelligent conversation, more of an educator role than a salesperson's role. And
Yeah.
really, the stuff that you talk about, Wayne, that is the mecca. That is what every dealership strives for. We talk about turnover in our industry,
Mhm.
right? And it's a heartache. People leave. They get this big sign-on bonus, and they stay for as long as the handcuffs are on. And as soon as the handcuffs are able to be unlocked, they leave for yet the next place. But to have techs 32 years, 40 something years, I mean, that's crazy. That's a byproduct of all of the good things that everybody's contributing to that store. We always look at, I'm not getting paid to do that, so that's costing me money, or that's not my job, right?
Yeah.
But yet, it is everybody's job to contribute to the success of the store. If everybody, when, not if, because clearly this is happening, when everybody has that type of an attitude about everybody helping to toe the line in the same direction, that's when you have that kind of retention. I mean, if I'm a dealer and I'm listening to this, I'm going to seriously reevaluate how the conversations we have at our stores regarding what is and isn't someone's responsibility. Because if we all want what you seem to have found or created, not necessarily found, because this doesn't just drop out of the sky. I can assure you this is not the norm across our industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got to make a concerted effort. Let me get to a couple of comments here. Let's see. Ed says, do you use cooperative education high school students, and what entry age are allowed? Do you have an age limit?
So in Washington, they can come in as young as 16
Okay.
into our shops. They can't road test cars or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, I think the youngest that we've had at our shop, at least in the time I've been there, is 17.
Okay.
And of course, they're limited on some of the things that we allow them to do and things. But yeah, so that's works out fine.
Mike Vogel, Toyota corporate and Toyota dealers do a great job with the Toyota Express maintenance program. It's a key part of customer satisfaction and great for attracting entry-level technicians.
Yeah. And it's really important to understand that they are entry-level technicians, and you don't want them stuck there for a long period of time. And remember, they may have come out of a 2-year program. And this has been one of my pet peeves from when I was an instructor. And one of the reasons I retired from teaching was I was so frustrated. I'd have great students that graduated from my program. I get them plugged into a shop, and they're just thrown right in and given no support. And 2 or 3 years down the road, they've left the industry because they had no support. They were expected to produce like a journey level technician. We know it takes 5 to 6, maybe 10 years to actually become that really good productive technician. And if you don't give them those supports, that mentor in the shop, pay them accordingly and things like that, we're going to lose them. And retention is the key. And I wanted to touch on a comment I see from Marshall Sheldon, and this is talking about those mentors in the shop. And you have to pay them. Some shops you may have to give them a bump. I was running an automotive apprenticeship program here in Washington State, and some of my shops gave the mentor for the apprentice a little bump in their hourly wage. Others let them flag the time that the apprentice flagged. So different ways to compensate them for the fact that they're investing in this kid. So in your shop, that may be required. It just so happens at our dealership at Toyota Puyallup, there's never been any question. And I think that's because of that just our sorry, I'm having one of those senior moments. I'm going to use the word family again. That's not exactly where I was going, but it's just the way that our dealership happens to work.
It's funny. So I said, it comes across LinkedIn user, so I don't know who that is yet. It says, oh boy, the F word, family, was mentioned. That word makes me nervous when a shop environment is described. I guess in some instances it could, and in many instances it should, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, right? Just because, a situation maybe doesn't work out in one particular area doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Maybe it's looked at a little bit differently.
Right.
So no, good, to your point, Sheldon, Marshall, each store is different, and some have the need to have to do something financially or otherwise, and others don't. I think it's one of those things where there is no right or wrong answer. It really depends what the culture is in each store.
Right. Culture is the word I was looking for. Sorry.
It would be interesting, though, to look at the different environments where they're paid or they're not paid, and see what the tenure is of the shops. I don't think we'd ever see such a study, but that would certainly be interesting to see what the impact is of that kind of a mentality.
And I just want to add too, whether you're paying that mentor or not, it is crucial that you pick the right person to be that mentor. They have to have that passion for our industry. They have to have some ability to teach. Those are the key things. And you need to give them some training on how to mentor as well.
Right.
I don't care how much you pay them. If the person doesn't have that fire in their belly about our industry, they're going to chase people away. So it's finding the right people.
And the other thing too is that, when we look at I always look at big picture. Maybe I look at a bigger picture than I should, but I look at the entire picture, right? The way I look at it is when we have an environment where everybody is pulling the rope in the same direction and everybody is helping to make sure that everybody is trained up as well as they could be, okay? That might make the difference between being able to complete a particular job or being able to get to a particular customer when they need to come in, or not getting that job. When we look at the lifetime value of a customer, okay, our zero moment of truth is that first time that we've met them, okay? And if you can wow them and blow them away right out of the gate, then you stand to gain an awful lot from that. But if we don't have a team environment and we miss an opportunity like that, when we look at 7 in 10 customers don't come back to the dealership for service anymore, we really can't afford to lose any. So whatever we can do to build more of a team atmosphere, the more customers we can service, the more happy customers we can bring into our community. Let me get to a couple of comments here. John Frazier says, the business is already filled with so much greed. When you get an experienced tech that's more concerned about how much more he needs to be paid versus how much contribution will help the business. Herein lies the problem with our industry. Of course, the mindset just stems from many years of mistreating technicians. Now, let me highlight this one here because this is a big one here. Yeah. Mistreating technicians. Maybe if we had invested in these experienced techs early in their careers, they would have been more willing to invest in someone else's career. The vicious cycle of self-destruct, and it doesn't, unfortunately, in this platform, I can't see the entire comment. But that's exactly what I'm talking about there, right? That could make the difference between getting to that next job or not. That might impact whether or not we're scheduled a month out or if we're scheduled 2 weeks out. I know that's a simplistic way of looking at it, but we need to look at just more than how's it immediately affecting me. But like I said, there is no one right or wrong answer. Marshall says, you are doing the lost work, Wayne. I realize you don't make up the rules. The Lord's work, not the lost work. Doing the Lord's work. It's which came first, the chicken or the egg, Wayne?
Yeah. That's it. I love this industry. I want it to survive, and I want to attract really high quality people into the industry. And so any opportunity I have to get the word out, I'm going to do that. So
Mike Vogel says, when I had a master tech or team leader mentor at TXM Tech, we were moving up. They got paid on the TXM hours produced, less 4 hours each day. Marshall says, John, I'm not compensated to train apprentices. I do it because I love to do it. I'm also not compensated in a flat rate pay structure. See, here's interesting, because I know what motivates Marshall, because we're part of Service Drive Live, SDL. It's a group that gets together on Sunday mornings. I couldn't make it this morning because we had an event at our retail store that we had to get ready for. But generally speaking, Sunday mornings we get together and we tackle the fixed ops situations that shops run across. It's a good cross section of people from around the country. So you really get to feel what the other people feel. But he's the type of guy that would fit well in your stores.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
But he also sees the other side of it too, which is what I like. You have to be able to look at more than just your view, because as I said, there's no one right answer that covers everything. And Mike Vogel says, Wayne, another great comment by you. Choosing the right person to be mentor is so important. You are 100%, no, 1000% spot on, because not everybody can fill that role. And the last thing you want to do is have the wrong person instill the wrong training in the new person that's a sponge soaking up all this information and excited to get into our business. Are there any other comments or questions that we have from our audience? And those watching on the replay, feel free to add them when you're watching, and I'm happy to get to those questions at any time because we get notifications and then I can go back in. Any final questions from the audience? Going once, going twice. All right. Any final words from you, Wayne? This has been really, really great. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, I really appreciate TechForce Foundation asking me to take part in this, and for you bringing me on. Our industry is a great industry, and we have to get that word out there that we get to work on some of the coolest machines ever built. We actually are starting to make pretty decent money in the industry, and we can do it with little or no debt if we figure out how to do it. So I just want to continue encouraging everyone that's listening and happens to watch us at some other time that the key is getting out where these young people are so that they know about the opportunities in our industry. And then we have to make sure that our businesses are set up so that we can retain them. And that means training them, treating them right, letting them know we appreciate them, and then it's going to work. So let's keep up the good work and have fun.
We got a question that came in from Ed Chipolowski. EV training, do you get into that as well?
I do. I do hybrid and electric. Actually, when I was at Clover Park Technical College, I started one of the first hybrid and electric vehicle programs in the United States. So,
wow.
So that's something I saw that coming on, 20 some years ago. So I got myself trained up in it, and that's a future of the automobile. So I do, bring some of that in, and Toyota now, just came out with the BZ4X, which is an all-electric platform vehicle. So, So really important to train them how to work on those things safely and correctly.
Wow, that's cool. All right, so I'm going to play a short video on how you can get involved with TechForce, and then Wayne, stay on after we log off here. I want to thank everybody from that attended tonight, and I want to thank those watching it on the replay. Freddie Trujillo says, create a culture, have an onboarding process, let the future tech know they have a career at your dealership.
Yep.
Awesome way to end the show. Thank you. Yep. Wayne, don't go away.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
TechForce, the first and only social network for next-gen tech.
Welcome to TechForce, a platform dedicated to launching and advancing the careers of next-generation technicians. People like you, students, instructors, working techs, industry leaders, you. Showcase your school, jobs, and awards. Post your current project and follow your friends. Flex your talent. Follow industry trends and connect with future employers. Connect works on all devices. Compete with other users and climb the leaderboard in daily and special trivia. Scholarships. $1.5 million in scholarships awarded annually. Explore your passion, flex your talent, build your career. Join techforce.org.
And that wraps our show this week. Thank you for watching. Have a safe and successful next week. And we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.